then you can take advantage of that market that is available.
Day 2 of the Delta State Investment and Economic Summit opens with a renewed momentum here at the Dome Event Center in Asaba. Following strategic discussions and engagement from opening day, the agenda shifts towards more deeper conversations like investment opportunities, policy direction, and partnerships across key sectors. Stakeholders are looking beyond promises, but rather focusing on commitment that translates into jobs, economic expansion, and long-standing development for Delta State.
The second day of the Delta State Economic and Investment Summit moved into a more technical phase. Unlike the opening ceremony, Day 2 focused on deal room engagements and sector-specific discussions, bringing experts, investors, government representatives, and private sector operators together to examine how Delta's economic potential can be turned into viable investment opportunities. The objective was clear: to move from what Delta has to what can be invested in, how it can be financed, and what is required to make it commercially viable. Agriculture was one of the key areas examined, with the conversation going beyond farming to the entire agricultural value chain. Delta State has significant opportunities in cassava, rice, oil, palm, aquaculture, and agro-processing. The challenge is to transform that potential into commercially sustainable businesses through better production, processing, storage, transportation, and market access. The central message was that Delta State must capture more value from what it produces by developing investment opportunities across the entire chain. The blue economy was another major area of discussion. For a state with extensive waterways and coastal access, water represents an important economic asset. Opportunities identified include commercial fishing, aquaculture, seafood processing, marine transportation, and cold chain logistics. But unlocking these opportunities will require infrastructure, financing, regulation, and modern technology to turn Delta's waterways into productive economic corridors. Energy was another important component of the Day 2 discussions. The focus was not only on Delta's position as an oil and gas producing state, but on how its energy resources can support industrialization. Peter Ikenga, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Transcorp Power, expressed the company's willingness to partner with the Delta State government on electricity expansion.
But the opportunity we have today in Delta State is that there's demand in Delta State. What we just need to do is to close the gap between electricity supply and the demand space. So the State Electricity Act was the Electricity Act that has empowered the states, the sub-governments, to regulate their own power generation and distribution, creates a very unique opportunity. So we in Transcorp Power, we own a 1,000 megawatt capacity plant within Delta State. So if we can harness the power from that plant and other plants within the state to feed the demand within the state, you don't need the National Regulatory Commission to even come into play with respect to regulation. So create that market, create the demand, extend the infrastructure that's required within the state, and then most importantly, tied to the other question around people electricity theft, create the legal framework to ensure that when people receive power, they pay for power. When people steal power, there are consequences to deter them from doing that. But most importantly, use power for economic development of the state, because that's the only way it's going to generate the income to pay back for the power, which eventually helps the entire value chain.
The discussion highlighted the need for investment across the power chain, from gas supply and generation to transmission, distribution, and industrial power infrastructure. The message was clear: reliable power is fundamental to industrial growth, business expansion, and investor confidence. The deal room sessions provided one of the most practical dimensions of Day 2. Here, prospective investors engaged government representatives around specific opportunities and what would be required to move projects from concepts to implementation. The focus was on bankable opportunities, investment matchmaking, project financing, and structured follow-up. Because investment requires more than a good presentation, projects must be commercially viable, properly financed, and supported by a clear regulatory pathway. The deal room is where the conversation begins to move from promotion to transaction.
Yeah, my name is Roland Isereke. I am the head of technical Tantita Securities Nigeria Limited. Okay, Tantita is an indigenous security company that's solely into the securing of oil and gas facilities in the country. Yes, the economic summit in Delta, it's a very important one. Being an indigenous company, I think these are things that we want. Tantita as a company based and owned by Delta, we've been able to go outside the shores of Nigeria to attend summits, attend seminars. We've been to the United States. We've been even outside Nigeria, even some other African countries. And even in Nigeria, the energy week, we've been there year after year, we've been there. So when we heard about this, it's a very good opportunity for us to come and showcase and see other investors in the state and see where we can collaborate and move the economy of the state forward. Yes, in the security sector, we just need more policy where the private security is going to be able to collaborate with the GSS, the government security personnel more. Let them be a collaboration. Let them be a very good synergy. And with that, because the private security personnel, they don't carry harm, but with a very good collaboration, and if there's a policy, and which there is, a very good collaboration, I think it's going to help the private securities to do better. And that will bring a lot to the states in terms of bringing peace to the states.
We are constructing a coal power plant, 4 by 150 megawatts. The location of the proposed plant is in Obampa community, an North local government of Delta State. Why are we locating the coal mine in Obampa? We already have an active mining site, and we feel that locating the power plant in the same location with the coal mines eliminate the issue of carbon footprint if we are taking it elsewhere. And the technology we are adopting for the power plant is circulating fluidized bed, which is a technology that eliminates the formation of nitrogen oxides and sulfur oxides if you are adopting the conventional technology that is known. Number 2 is the issue of water. The technology we are adopting for the water is air cooling system. The air cooling system uses only about 10% of the water requirements of the water cooling system, and it's a closed loop. The water coming into the plant will not go out, so there is no issue of discharge into the environment. And finally, the generated power, like I said, is 600 megawatts. We intend supplying the national grids, industrial parks, and clusters of manufacturers and government, like the Delta State government, the Edo State government, Anambra State government can directly purchase power from us when the plant is completed. Our industry is highly competitive, but you have to look at it that power is a major issue in Nigeria. Currently, what we have is very insignificant, and there is no way Nigeria can develop with the amount of power we have. Having investors like us coming to have 600 megawatts will boost the economy, and it will power the manufacturing sector particularly. One, we look forward for government support in establishing this. What I mean by support is definitely when you're having an investment like this, there are a lot of things you need, particularly on infrastructure. Getting to the site is a major thing. We need that support from the government. We need support we need support on the fast tracking the regulations. Our own organization, we comply with all government regulations, but sometimes bureaucracy can be harmful to investors. We're happy that the Delta State government is supporting investment, and we want to see that in our own operation. We have been seeing it, and we want to see it more. Then finally, we need the government interfacing with the communities. We need their buy-in into the projects. For now, what we have with the communities is excellent relationship, but we are investing more into this project. We need that cooperation to continue.
Chief Ken Iwelumo, a director on Asaba Waterfront City Development and Management Company. Yes, we are embarking on the construction of a new city in the middle of Asaba. We are filling 351 hectares of swampland with sand from the River Niger to create a 21st century city where you can live, play, and work. The city will be upscale with the latest infrastructure, technology, and amenities. So our aim is to create 3,000 new plots of land, 100 by 100. We hope to get visibility for our project. Delta State is a strategic state. Asaba is a strategic city. And we're proud to be part of those who are trying to make it greater. Delta State is already part of us. They own a stake in this enterprise. So we've already made those things known to them. I don't want to showcase them or to sound like I'm complaining, because they are doing everything to make this, because this is, you can call this Eco Atlanticity East. It's on the same level. So it's going to transform this whole area. Yes, so we're excited. Thank you.
This is Ministry of Trade and Investment. We are a government ministry. We have on display the solid minerals we have in Delta State, and we have them in commercial quantities. What we have here is a kaolin, a type of clay. We have industrial clay also. We have lignite bitumen. We have silica sand. We have them in commercial quantities, and we want investors to come and invest in Delta State. It's a win-win arrangement. You make money for yourself, you make money for the state. You are looking for how to drive revenue beyond oil. So whatever form of assistance you need from the government to get into all this business, we are there for them. Now, this summit will expose our resources to those who don't know about what we have in Delta State. Sometimes they just think Delta is just oil. But we have solid minerals, we have gas, we have agricultural prospects in Delta State. So this summit is exposing all of that to the world.
We're developing indigenous paint manufacturing company here in Nigeria, and this here in Asaba. Yes. You see, this summit allows different people from all walks of life to come together, and the sole purpose is to interact and see where one can help the other. So a forum like this present itself allows us to meet and network with other people in the industry, in building, real estate, who need our products, and we also need their services.
The state has highlighted reforms covering land administration, investment facilitation, public-private partnerships, revenue administration, security, and commercial dispute resolution. For investors, these reforms can determine whether a project moves forward or remains on paper. Although the panels focused on different sectors, they were connected by one central question: How does Delta turn its comparative advantages into investable opportunities? Agriculture needs energy. Energy needs infrastructure. Manufacturing needs logistics. The blue economy needs transportation and cold chain systems. Technology needs reliable power and skilled manpower. And every sector requires an environment where businesses can operate with confidence. The discussions therefore pointed to an interconnected economy where different sectors reinforce one another. Away from the panels and technical sessions, the conversations continued outside the conference rooms. Government officials, investors, and other stakeholders shared the perspectives on Delta's development agenda, the opportunities emerging from the summit, and what must happen next. Among them was the Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads and Public Information, Charles Aniago.
Well, let me say that we have had the investment summit before, but what makes this one unique is that the governor is very much committed to action, and then we have brought in a whole lot of people. You can see what he just did now by placing aside as much as $100 million to de-risk investment in areas where there could be gaps. That has not been done before. That tells you the speed with which he wants this to work. And we're happy that investors too have also shown a whole lot of interest. I want to believe that is triggered by the confidence they have in the administration and how well the governor has also been able to run the government of Delta State in the last 3 years. You heard him say that even the amount we're talking about is not going to be borrowed, neither is it in anticipation, it's already on ground. And so what that tells you that for the past 3 years, Oburuwuri has been planning, which is why he paid a whole lot of attention to the building of infrastructure. And that building of infrastructure is to a very large extent to create the enabling environment that could trigger this investment that we are talking about. And this investment will at the end of the day trigger employment opportunities for our teeming youths. We have a very, very strong youth population. Over 60% of our about 6.2 million Deltans are youthful, and they are also well trained. And our desire is to see how we can make them to become gainfully employed, because once they have good jobs, they are also going to be able to pay their taxes. That means it will also have a spiral effect, not only in terms of boosting the economy of Delta, but also improving the standard of living of the people.
One thing that I'm very excited about Sheriff's government, I'm not saying it to flatter the government without being personal. He has consistently said that he has never borrowed. And once you are not borrowing, what you now need is the technical know-how to apply those funds, excess funds that you have.
Very, very important area.
That is why we're here.
Very strongly from the data
kind of gather
that we are
knowledge that will enable those funds, those idle funds that are not being utilized to be plugged into sectors that will be very, very, very accommodating and also return on the people by creating employment, making the youth to be gainfully engaged, making the market women to also be gainfully and further empowered in what they do.
Okay, what we have here today is the largest economic and investment summit ever to be organized in Delta State. It is organized at a time as this because Delta State is the ripe destination for investors. Delta State is the ripe destination for you to put your money and be sure that your business, your investment is protected. Let me tell you a bit of what I mean. In the past couple of years, successive governors have built on security in this state, and you would understand that no business thrives without security. So first of all is to be sure that your investment is safe, your investment is secured, before we now begin to look at what is the volume of turnover, how do you upscale your business, and how do you take over the market for yourself. So first, Delta State has become a secure investment destination for investors. And so today we are having an investment summit for investors where they can go to sleep knowing that their investment is secure.
Very, very important. It's very important to us because the governor whose initiative is this, deem it necessary that it's high time we expose data to investors. And that's why we say invest data. The reason is that when you look at data, all you know, all you want to hear is oil and gas. Data is beyond oil and gas. We have natural resources, we have solid minerals like kaolin, lignite, coal, clay, and the rest that people can look into. We have agriculture, we have the blue economy. Our blue economy is wide, it's unbelievable. We have the best of shrimps, the best of prawns, and the best of fishes in the river. We have the longest coastal line of 163 kilometers. There is nowhere in this country that you have such. So this is an opportunity for investors to look at data differently. Data is a diamond that have not been mined. We are calling them to come and mine data, not just in terms of oil and gas, but in terms of other resources that we have.
Okay, the Delta Investment Summit for me is an awesome platform. I can say this is the first of its kind. You know, I'm a Deltan, and I'm proud to say that I'm a Deltan because this is the first time something like this is happening. You know, unlike before, most of our government, they focus more on infrastructure rather than, you know, capital, say investment platforms that can actually move the economic of the state. You know, seeing for the first time such a thing happening in our dear state, so it's something of joy for me. That's why I have to fly down, and with other my partners, even from China, they came down for this investment summit. So it's an
today you know that captains of industry, policymakers are here to give their view. Some are here to, investors are here to also pledge funds that they are going to invest in Delta State. And a lot of people are aware of what is going on, the natural resources we have, the access roads that we have, good infrastructure, quality healthcare. There is enabling environment now where security is the order of the day in Delta State. And kudos to the governor of Delta State for doing all that, and we expect him to do more as well.
Potential investment chain is straightforward. Government enables, private capital invests, businesses produce, workers earn, the economy grows. By the end of day 2, the message was no longer simply that Delta State has potential. The panels demonstrated where that potential exists: agriculture, the blue economy, energy, infrastructure, logistics, digital innovation, solid minerals, and a more investor-friendly business environment. But identifying opportunities is only the beginning. The real test is what follows. Will the conversations become investment agreements? Will investments become projects? Will projects create jobs? And will those jobs translate into a better standard of living for the people of Delta State? That is the real measure of the summit, because the success of an economic summit is not determined by the number of people seated inside a conference hall. It is determined by what happens after.